for the
automated voice messaging system. 812.
Sorry.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We put the trees down by you.
Yeah, we put the believe it or not by you, Carl.
I don't like wood butters. I don't like wood butters.
Just half.
That's
Yeah, that or
weird.
something too, I think.
You like coffee, right?
Don't like coffee either.
What do you like, beer?
You know?
Hang on one second.
Well, you
Let me
can
get
start
the
a
hand.
conversation, Carl.
I figured you want to listen to at least some of the reports. Okay, so I'm gonna put you on speaker so you can hear. All right, Andy's on cell. Can you hear okay, Andy?
Yep, I can hear fine.
All right.
Where's the indication?
Bob?
Yeah.
Why don't you come up here and have a seat or whatever you want to do?
Well, I don't want to take all of your time. I did do a little presentation for the bond committee, 2 weeks ago. And I was going to take my map back home with me, or you can have if you want them. But I thought I'd get some information to the general board about what was going on. I'm wearing my Pedco hat today more than anything. And I want to, we're Paris, it says Paris Economic Development. We're really talking about Edgar County Economic Development. So wanted to make sure the county board understood that and point out a couple of things. Actually, Josh had some questions, and I thought, well, you know what, those were pretty good questions, and hopefully everybody understands, but we don't maybe communicate with the board enough. So just a couple minutes, I want to talk about a couple things, and I bought a couple maps here. And again, when we talk about Edgar County, not Pedco particularly, one of the things we did for economic development in Edgar County is create enterprise zones. So those enterprise zones run to Crispin, they run to Economic Equity, they go to the airport, they go to the different communities all over the county. And what an enterprise zone does is its whole purpose is to increase economic development. And enterprise zones offers a couple of things. One, it offers tax rebate on material. I notice every time I drive through Crispin, that new fertilizer plant just to the west there. And I've been to the Crispin Council a couple times talking about it, and nobody mentioned that got built. And that's fine, that's the best, because we don't have to worry about incentives if they don't want it. Some businesses don't want incentives. But with all the material that they put in there, that could have all been tax credited. That'd been quite a bit of money in just tax credit. And then there's also some tax rebate stuff or real estate tax stuff that is involved in that. So the board should understand that, and Pedco, we really aren't chasing new business now. We've filled the house. There's 500 jobs open today in Edgar County. Everybody's hunting for labor. That's not unusual for Edgar County, but it's been here for quite a while. All of our plants are begging for labor, so again, Pedco's not offering a lot of incentives right now, and neither probably should the county or the city, because we're doing so good. Pedco's actually talking more about quality of life issues, so we can get more people to move here as opposed to people working here. We want them to move and work at the different plants. So the other thing in MAP is talking about our 2 TIF districts, and TIF is tax increment financing. So what a TIF does, and the new hotel's a perfect example of that. We have a downtown TIF and we have a Jasper Street TIF, and when the Hampton Inn, we've been after a new hotel for 20 years. We got 2 hotels in town. They don't supply the business atmosphere, the people that come to town with the different industries want a little nicer place. We've got 2 hotels that serve a purpose, and I went this weekend, my God, they were both full to the hilt, so it's good for everybody. But when Hampton came to town, and we offered them because it was sitting in that TIF, the TIF takes the new revenue, not existing revenue. You don't lose a penny of the existing tax revenue. Any new revenue created in that TIF goes into a TIF fund. 25% of that TIF fund goes to the taxing bodies. So most of the time, that's more money than they were getting off of the farm ground or whatever anyway. But a big part of that money goes in the TIF, and the TIF can be used for incentives. And for the hotel, we bought the ground with TIF money. TIF can do anything, studies, engineering, preparation, water, sewer, utility type of things for the ground. It can't put a brook on top of the ground, but it can do anything from the ground down, plus all the planting, plus paying for the ground. And with that incentive, without that incentive, we would not have a Hampton Inn. With that incentive, that was a big thing. As NAL, NAL really didn't use TIF money. NAL used just some other tax abatement money. So the downtown TIF and the two banks, Edgar County Bank and First Mid Bank, were built downtown. That's the basis of most of the TIF for the downtown TIF. And that's been used to, unfortunately, tear down buildings, but also to resurface buildings with some of the outside and everything. So those are two major programs that the city has to increase development. The new GSI development, we use some of that money to build that new road. We got a grant from the state, but we also can leverage. So a lot of times TIF doesn't provide all the money, but it leverages money so you can get into other programs that are 25, 50, 75% money. So we've utilized that quite a bit. Probably the biggest criticism that Petco's had is tax abatement, tax abatement, tax abatement. You know, my gosh, you abate this tax. Well, I'm going to use a little example right there, our industrial road. And we give most of those, 4 of those 5 buildings down there got abatement. 1 of them didn't get abatement. Most of them were already run out. None of them's on abatement, but because they're in that TIF. So that used to be farm ground. I've been a treasurer, I've been on Petco since 1990. And I paid about $700 a year in taxes for that little piece down there. When we talk about now, that hotel is paying, their bill is $200,000. Cadillac, $133,000. Prinian, $65,000. Aerogentech, $70,000. NAL, $1.2 million. So what we've done is develop that ground using those incentives, and for a short period, the county, the schools, nobody got money from it. Now they're getting lots of money. So all this economic development, especially when you set this close to Indiana, you're fighting Indiana. And they've got incentives too. If you don't have something to discuss with these industries, they won't even talk to you. I mean, they know the game, they know what's going on, they know how important economic development is to different regions. So we have used it, we continue to use it, and we need it, but I wanted to point out that, in my opinion, it's been a very good investment for the city, the county, the schools, everything. So I always want, like I want my parish board and I want the Edgar County board to understand, why things are done. And Petco has no power to do anything. You guys have the power. You guys have the power, and we come to you and ask for tax abatements. One of the most powerful things that Petco does have is the cooperation of the taxing bodies. As most of the time, NAL, and I keep using it because it's such a big employment and tax example, they were here, we were 1 of 100, 1 of 50, 1 of 25, 1 of 10, 1 of 5, 1 of 2. And every time we sat at that table, we had to offer them. The last thing we offered them was tax abatement. Indiana had just called and said they got a check for $1 million if you come to Greencastle, Indiana today. And we said, whoops, we have a tax abatement schedule over 10 years that was worth $1.2 million at the time. Bob, you understand $1 million today is worth a lot more than $1.2 million over 10 years. I said, I do understand that, but you guys said that their first building was 1/4 of that existing plant. We gave them enough ground for all of that plant plus all of their corporate headquarters, which they had talked about being on the table with this. And we said, if you do all of that, and you do that within that 10-year tax abatement time frame, that money could be spread out to be about $2.5 million, depending on when it hit the ground and when it fit in the tax abatement schedule, and that is competitive. And with that argument, they made the decision not to go to Greencastle that day. So big push, and we also have, we hadn't talked to you guys about that, which makes you a little nervous, However, because of our past success and because of our relationship with the different taxing boards, we made the assumption that we did have that power, and we put that on the table. So, I want to thank the board for being part of that aggressiveness, and we have to be aggressive to move forward. We just have to be aggressive to move forward. So, appreciate that. I think the Petco, the board is on Aren't you notified when we have Petco meetings? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we always encourage anybody, and if you want on that meeting list, tell me your email and I'll
And then
send it.
I'm on
We don't meet near as much, we used to meet weekly because there was a bunch of stuff, again, we backed off that a little bit, just meeting on occasion, talking about housing now, talking about childcare now, talking about some of those quality of life issues that we think is important to make people come to Paris, and thank God we got Terre Haute over there because we're drawing, you know, if you drive out of town early in the morning, it's like funeral processions coming to town, and we need all that, but we need more people to have kids to go to our school, to go to our stores, to eat at our restaurants and things like that. So that's the push from Petco right now. I just wanted to kind of inform the general board of those type of things and answer any questions anybody might have.
What happened to the low-income housing he's gonna build out south of Hampton and
Costs,
cost of?
you know, I mean, NAL is a big push on that, but, you know, the community's a big push on that. But that happened when the worst of the worst hit with materials, and I mean, you guys are all in business, you understand what everything's done, and we can't, you know, we're also in a pretty high tax state. So when you put those things on the ground and you figure out what the monthly rent has to be, even, and we don't want junk. We're not gonna build college dormitory housing that falls apart in 5 years. If we can have something that looks good and feeds, you know, the people that are staying there good, then we're not gonna build it, and the monthly rent was about $1,500 a month, and we didn't say we could sell that, you know, to have that. So we haven't given up on that idea. Again, that is in a TIF, so we can do development money with that. Petco owns that ground, so we don't have a problem giving that ground away for $1 to the right person. So any of you have ideas on all of this, our door's open, our phone's always on the hook and ready to go. So we are interested, especially in quality of life issues. So.
My daughter works for Hilton. She says this Hampton out here is one of the better Hamptons.
But it was funny because, again, for 20 years, I started my Petco meeting. This year, we're getting a hotel.
Yeah.
And finally, we got a hold of the Horby boys, and they're from a little town just north of Decatur. They're us. They're from a small town, very successful. I mean, he's done very well, and he had just sold 2 hotels in Champaign, so when we made this effort at him, we got to him, and he had a little money in his pocket, and we got him and his son to come to Paris, and we had 5 locations, one of them which is where it was. We showed them that one first. Said, right here, we got TIF money, we can do this, we can do this. And he said, you know what, I think I'm gonna try to build you guys, and he has a letter, I told him to put it on the wall there, from Hilton that says, do not build in Paris. It's not on an interstate, it doesn't have the population base, you know, and everything. We can't guarantee it'll be successful. And Steve Horby says, I don't care what you guarantee, I build hotels. He's an excellent builder. He's been Builder of the Year a couple times for Hampton. He said, I'm building these people a Hampton Inn. They need a Hampton Inn. That, for the first year, that was the number 3 out of 12, 13, 1,400 Hamptons in the United States in hotel occupancy. And it's the fastest ever to add rooms. So they built 72 and they added 24. So that's been very successful, and it's been well taken by the community. I mean, I don't know how many people have said, wow, that's great, come back for weddings or funerals or class reunions or whatever that's been, and you know, the business base loves it, and Heather does. They've got a great crew out there. I mean, they really run a good shop. So
My daughter's really impressed with it.
yeah, no, that's been one of the really bright spots of our efforts in Paris. So. Other questions or comments? Oh, thank you. Well, have a good day.
I guess I'll make one comment. I was sheriff at the time when that all started down there, and I remember so much criticism on this tax abatement and stuff. I mean, everybody thought, wow, we're giving them that much money, but as you pointed out, it's come back to.
Well, and if, again, they're paying, you know, their tax bill, they were a little concerned when they got their first tax bill. You know, it was about double what we had anticipated being.
Right.
And so they'll pay us back, and look what it's done for the community too.
Exactly.
You know, so it's just, again, you gotta have money in your pocket to be aggressive with business, and thank God we had a person that didn't pay attention to what, you know, the poll said or what, you know, the research says. So they've done a good job, and you know, what a great, you know, you come into Paris from the south end, you see that industrial row and that hotel, especially at night when it's all lit up, you say, I'm in a pretty good little community here. So
Exactly.
impressions are important too.
Right.
So,
Yep.
and By the way, thank you guys, you wanna talk about criticism, I hear all the criticism of your courthouse and everything. Thank you guys for being aggressive on that. That is the gem of the city of Paris. It's a beautiful building, and you don't make them anymore, so we appreciate your effort.
Thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Do y'all?
See ya.
I guess we'll move on to court.
Sounds good.
Give me 1 second here. Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you doing?
We still got you, Andy?
You're standing
Yeah,
right
I'm here.
beside me, is this not good?
No, you're perfectly fine.
Just checking.
Where are you at?
Me,
Yeah.
Juliet,
Oh,
Oh,
I thought maybe you were
prison, I
at
hope.
Gorman.
Prison? Are you in prison?
Did the prison need a new sheriff? I bet they get prime rib.
You what now?
Juliet prison's closed.
Oh, I knew that. Just open for you people. Hope you didn't misdial that.
Hey, Michael, it's Josh. Hey, Harris is getting ready to start his presentation.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Go ahead. All right, thanks everyone for giving me some time to come down and talk and give you a little bit of a status update about where we're at. I'm going to run through this really quickly, and I'll take some questions at the end. I know we've got a lot of questions about where we're at, what's going on, and how everything is doing. I'll start with the bad news. The bad news is we've taken a little longer to get all of our pricing together than we anticipated. It's been hard to find a vendor that can match the paneling exactly. We've received preliminary pricing from both our roofers and our carpenters, which are going to be our main trades on this project doing these repairs. We're evaluating those costs right now while still trying to actually get a vendor who can match that siding perfectly. So we've got those numbers, we're evaluating those. It's probably going to take us about at least this week to get through. And then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we're going to be able to present that cost to you guys very shortly. So that's the bad news. The good news is we're proceeding with the work that we have in place exceedingly well, and we've got a fairly decent schedule to do it. So I've got this little drawing here talking about essentially what our plan is schedule-wise. So,
Harrison,
yes, sir.
did you have a chance to send me a copy of what you're presenting to the board?
I've got a drawing and I'm referencing the bill. Which you guys should have, it's the August invoice.
Do you have
So,
the
yeah.
August invoice, Michael?
I do have that.
So Michael, I was gonna say, Michael, this shouldn't be any new information than what we talked about last Friday, with just our rough scheduling and where we're at with pricing otherwise. So we've got all of our masonry repair, we've got the slate that comes up to the very base of the bell tower, and then you guys have seen the white under laminate that's on top of it. So essentially what we're trying to do is get as close to the base of the clock tower as we can, and then we were going to stop. The reason being is we've gone back and forth on what to do with this copper roof. It's very delicate, it's easily damaged. So our plan is right now we're going to take us all the way up to this under laminate, and then that's where we're going to stop until we do the clock tower repairs. We want to do the clock tower repairs first because any little thing that could possibly fall, anybody stepping the wrong way, is going to damage the copper roof once we put it on, and then it's very hard to repair or replace. So it's much more cost effective to put on the under laminate for the time being, replace it. If we go past that, I think it's good for 90 days or so, go ahead and replace it, and then go ahead and do the copper roof afterwards.
So that white portion all the way around, that's all going to be copper?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice shiny
Yeah.
copper top.
Wear your sunglasses.
Exactly. So,
It's gonna show.
Harrison, I got a question on the concern for the damage to the copper.
yeah,
I mean, the thickness of that copper is really no different than what's going into the gutters that are being installed right now, correct?
correct.
Okay, so is there, I guess I'm trying to understand the concern about dropping something on top that's gonna damage. I mean, I can understand it's gonna scratch, but I don't think it's gonna necessarily puncture through, is it?
We just want to be safe. That's where our thoughts are at. Because they're also going to be loading all the material that they're working on the clock tower onto that section of the roof to do that work. So before we had the storm damage, we would have lifted everything up there once we were done with the slate and once we were done with any of the masonry work. We'd have lifted it onto that, the laminate. We would have done the work on the clock tower, and actually the copper roof would have been the last thing that got done. Because otherwise you're lifting all that material from the ground all the way up every time you're installing something versus just from that copper roof up to the bell tower.
Michael?
So, are you saying you're gonna be staging a fair amount of materials up onto the roof?
A certain amount, yeah. We'll put the paneling up there.
Where that was going to be done.
Is your concern the weight of the roof that's on there?
No, yeah, part of it. I mean, I don't know if you know, but there used to be some skylights up there once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what your guys' is. Again, I apologize. I'm just the guy on the phone in the dark here.
No, understood.
Perfectly honest, trying to understand what's happening.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, that was the best plan that we came up with Kryling as far as time.
So, we're gonna have to keep the scaffolding up longer?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. Well, Michael, what, do you wanna work with them a little closer to find out what they're doing? So I mean, you are the architect and you have to approve this also, so what do we need to do at this point?
well, I guess I'm gonna need, Corey's gonna have to give me some information so I can understand, you know, what the plan is for staging up there. I mean, I'll be out there on Wednesday, so if I can get some type of information that I can print out and have in front of me and kind of look to see, I don't want you guys staging material up there and we find out that it's over a section of roof that, you know, could hold the guys roofing on it fine, but, you know, if it takes a substantial amount of weight, it's not necessarily intended for.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, it's not like we're putting heavy stone or masonry up there. It's going to be the panel that we replace, and it's going to be some of the copper, over the windows that are up there. But
You guys need to work out the details.
yeah,
And we need comfort all the way around with those involved,
sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Dan?
The wall blew off, that was tin or metal, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's
If
like
you have, somebody's gonna make, so it looks like the other three sides?
yep,
Okay,
That's what they're having trouble sourcing.
That's why.
that exact manufacturer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wondered,
They want to get it as close as they can,
okay.
Yeah.
and that's
Makes
really
sense.
an artisan kind of deal. I mean, this isn't like you've got a machine that can
Mhm,
Right.
crank this out, you know?
I just wondered,
Oh, no, it's a good question.
Absolutely.
okay.
So yeah, in addition to that, the question is going to be painting. So we're working with the carpenter right now to say, okay, hey, what is the cost of just painting that section that we're replacing to see how well it matches versus what is it going to cost to paint essentially the entire bell tower so we know that it matches 100%. That cost is probably, that one is probably going to be the cost that we submit to the insurance agent.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and some of this time stretching, I mean, they should fit the bill.
Yeah,
Where are we at on, we haven't submitted anything on these repairs yet.
Not on the bell tower.
Okay.
We have on the interior, we got paid for that, some of the stuff that got pricing now for all that stuff, but no, nothing's been submitted for the bell tower.
All right,
Because they needed more information.
There may be some time lag there.
Yes,
Yeah.
there will be.
And, you know, this is basically October,
yeah,
and painting in October is,
it's tough,
and November is,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
We're pushing on our trades,
Ideal.
yeah, as hard as we can. So, like I said, we've got some preliminary numbers that include all the labor, and we're trying to assist Kryling in getting that exact match. So,
all right.
we're spending this week on that.
If we have to call a
Are all
special
the-
meeting, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michael.
are the board members aware, because, you know, one of the reasons I believe we're looking at new panels, I haven't been confirmed for sure, but I believe it, some of the panels blew off and were not recovered, correct?
Correct.
And then others are damaged beyond reuse.
I think that was.
They had some concerns with trying to flatten them back out and stuff, because once that metal, you start bending it and stuff, it's gonna have those weak points. And they didn't think you'd be able to shape it back properly without causing more damage to
Right.
it.
I just want to make sure that the board's aware that one of the reasons we're having to go to new metal panels is because the existing ones aren't necessarily able to be salvaged, and then we're still missing a couple pieces that blew off and could not be found. So that way they understand the reason why we're looking for the new panels.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan?
Say temperatures change, like in October, November, and the high of the day is 40 and low of the night is 20. Is there any type of work that can't be done then?
I'd have to confirm with Kryling, but so far we think we can get it done this
Okay,
year.
I just wondered.
Except maybe for painting would be your concern.
Yeah.
Painting would be probably about.
Right.
Okay.
So we plan on painting that panel piece before it even goes up there,
Okay.
and then we're gonna see how well that looks, and then we're gonna have the money set aside to paint the entire tower if need be.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the insurance company will love that.
yeah. So we've got a preliminary time frame for Kryling to do all of this work. What the big X factor, of course, is lead time on the panel, which they're trying to confirm right now. And then, of course, the last factor is going to be how soon we can get approval from the insurance agent. But that is going to be how we're looking at the schedule. Unfortunately, is there's not going to be a clear delineation between the end of the courthouse project and the start of the repairs to the bell tower, because those things, because of that under laminate and the work that we're going to be doing, it's going to kind of blend together in the schedule. So we're going to essentially get up to the laminate part of the project. We're going to take down all of the scaffolding. At that point, we'll have the new finials up, we'll have the new louvers up. The building will look almost otherwise complete, except for the very nice shiny roof, and of course the repairs that we need to make to the tower. So those are the questions that we have outstanding, and we're trying to lock down this week, and then we're trying to review and get done with Kryling.
And Michael needs to approve
Yeah,
that
our
concept,
loading plan.
all right?
Yep.
And you're gonna be here this Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, Wednesday morning, and
And you're gonna
do- Yep.
I got
So
it
you-
on the calendar for,
Yep.
And Michael, you'll also be here another time, is it the 12th of October, right?
correct.
And that'll be a full deal about describing everything that's going on, and not just with the tower, but with the
Yeah,
jails,
right.
all right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
that's where we're at with pricing, that's our rough plan and our schedule. The last thing I wanted to touch on kind of lightly is just where we're at financially with the project. We're in really good shape. We've been counting all of our tickets that are coming in. We're about to finalize what would have otherwise been known as change order 2 on phase 2, which would have been the back half of the project. So two numbers that I didn't write up here just because I was running out of whiteboard, was number one, our masonry. For masonry, we assumed, and we got the bid from Autobahn, that we were gonna spend roughly, based on what they could see, $110,000 on phase 1. So we matched that budgeted wise, $110,000 on phase 2, $220,000. Their tickets have come back, we've actually spent only about $180,000. So we've got cost savings that are gonna come back from the masonry contract.
About 30 grand then.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that will also translate into savings into other areas,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because you guys, core adds on and,
Right.
right.
And
So that'll drop other prices.
Yeah. One of those other prices is the core carpentry. So we anticipated 30,000 for section 1, 30,000 for section 2. We included some temp barriers. We didn't end up having to use them. Carpentry came back less than we thought. We've only spent about 10 of that 60. So about 50,000 back on that.
Very good.
This project is broken into 2 separate contracts. You have the construction manager contract and you have the general trades contract. I've included the bill for this month for both of those in front of you. The first one is going to be the CM contract, the second one is going to be the general trades contract. So under the CM contract, we have, the CM contract manages the general trades contract, and we have our roofers contract. under our under our CM contract, we're still holding $67,708 of contingency. So that means if
How much again? I'm sorry.
you're good. $67,708. So that is, of course, our money that we didn't know. We saw an issue, came out of nowhere, nobody planned for it whatsoever. We need to use that money. That's what that money is for. So we've allocated a lot of our other issues. We've gotten a change order for them, so we have otherwise not touched this. As long as we don't come up with any other issues, that money is going to be coming back to the board. Under the general trades contract, so if you go to page 3 here, so what column C is, the schedule of values, that's what we budgeted for, so it'll be this one right here, page 3. This column C is all of the allowances that we had on this project for issues we thought we might have run into. And we asked the board to set aside some money for that. One of those, for instance, was masonry repairs. We had $100,000 set aside. Of course, we've eaten into that as part of our change order that we've done. But if you'll notice, items 500, 600, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,100, and 1,200. We have different items here: asphalt patching, dumpsters, landscaping, lifts and equipment, temp roads, and site lighting. The only things we've touched is the fences and the gates, and we use the lift to assess some of the storm damage. So that means otherwise, if you go here into column H, balance to finish, and you look across, that's how much money of that's how much money is still set aside for these allowances that, as of right now, we don't plan on using. So we've got, of course, the asphalt, fencing, dumpsters, all of those that you can see there. So between our contingency allocation and the allowances that we currently are holding on this contract, we have $128,232 that we're projecting in cost savings on the total of this contract. So that is not to say that once we get done, so as part of the Foyt's contract, which is under general trades, they're the ones that put in the temp road for us. Their second half of that contract is to remove the temp road and put the space in a condition that we saw. If while we're there, we noticed that the concrete got cracked, which I think I was notified that we had some concrete cracking somewhere between the trees coming down and possibly the temp road. If the board would like to go ahead and fix that, we'll pull some money out of the allowances to go ahead and do that. If I've looked at it, I really can't tell between all the other cracks in the sidewalk personally. We could refund all of this money. So financially speaking, this is where we're sitting at cost-wise with the project, and we're in really good shape. And anything that does come up, we feel like we have a good chance of covering it. So anything that possibly might get rejected from our proposal with the bell tower, some of the other things that we wanted to do, obviously up to the board's discretion if they wanted to use any of these possible cost savings to do that. So, besides the notes I took on our planning, are there any other questions that I can answer for you folks today?
Do you want to give an update on the finials or those stone?
Yes, so we're still having the stone ornaments priced. They've taken some pictures, Autobomb has, and they've taken that down to see what the cost is going to be to replace those. We've got to count for them. We have a finial design that's pending second approval from the board. As soon as we've got, essentially, there was some feedback. You guys wanted the nice orbs that were on the fleur de lis. Those got ordered special because Kryling couldn't fabricate them themselves. So those are getting soldered on. Those will be ready for your guys' and Michael's approval. And then last but not least are the copper louvers, which we've got our mock-up that was ordered. We were actually able to get those prefabricated and sent here. Those are coming in. We're gonna have the first one installed and take a look at it and see if it meets the design that you guys are looking for, and then we'll move forward on those. So those are all in flight. I just don't have the responses back yet from our trades.
Andy, do you have any comments?
No, that sounds good to me. No.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I do have a response for Andy though. Andy, I was told that you guys wanted to know information about the crane. specifically because we wanted to fix the counterweights on the clock. So
Yes.
as part of our feedback to Kryling, they didn't have the crane price broken out. I went ahead and I said, I want to know what the price is, how long that you guys have it, and then I told him, I said, we plan on using that crane to piggyback off of you guys and get that work done. So I said, whatever days you guys have accounted for, please let me know, because we'll probably tack on a day or so extra so we can make sure that that work gets done for you.
And we'll just
Okay,
need-
make sure and coordinate with us as soon as you know when you're gonna have that, because we'll coordinate with the clock company as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So I think all I need to know from you guys, so we can tweak our number correctly, is just how many days do they think the clock company is gonna need that crane for?
okay, I'll get that.
Thanks, Andy.
Perfect.
So, Harrison, it sounds like Kryling is still planning to use the crane after all.
Yes.
Seems like there's been a lot of back and forth on that topic.
Correct. The issue is could they get both man lifts to the areas that they needed to work on? They were going back and forth on it. The answer ended up being yes, if we could provide a flat and stable surface for them to work on the opposite side of the clock, or opposite side of the courthouse than where the temp road is. So essentially what Kryling ended up asking us is there any way that essentially we could put in another temp road over on that side of the clock tower to do that work? Now, as far as, impacting the courthouse and how that looks, it's not necessarily the best. We understand nobody wants to tear up the courthouse road any more than it had to. However, according to Kryling, and I haven't seen the numbers, but if we wanted to go down this path, they believe it would be a lot cheaper than getting the crane, and we have the allowances to do it. So we could essentially bring down the cost of what the bell tower would be by putting in another temp road and going that direction. I think it'd be smarter for us to plan to use the crane, understand the full cost, submit that cost to the insurance agent, and then reevaluate, given the schedule, and see what our options are.
Yes, sir.
Because you're gonna have to take out part of the wall and all that stuff on the north side.
Yep.
In order to put this stuff in, because that hill there, because it's got that slope on both sides of the one access road.
We need
so,
to carefully
Yeah.
watch that.
The crane would be a much better option.
Oh, yeah,
Even
yeah.
to spend a couple extra dollars, I think would be much worth it. You get a better product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably lower the time and
Especially,
safety.
100%.
especially with the storm damage work, if we're able to get the two to coincide together. I mean, we're seeing loose panels all the way up to the taper.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the lifts that Kryling was talking about can get them all the way up, to the statue if necessary.
Yeah.
The last thing we want to do is have a lift out there and find out we're 10 feet too short from fixing a panel.
Right.
So we might as well make sure we can get up there and get it done the way it needs to be done.
Absolutely. And part of Kryling's cost right now is they've anticipated the hours needed to go around the entire clock tower and make sure every panel is fastened and fasten which ones are loose.
Okay, great. Yeah, because we want them to be checking every single panel while they're up there. I mean, it's far cheaper to do it while they're up there and fix anything rather than come back after another storm.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions I can answer?
No, this has been very beneficial.
Perfect.
As long as you and Michael coordinate
Yep.
that, the first things we talked about, if the information is
Harrison,
good.
if you're saying you guys are just putting lighter materials up there,
Mhm.
that makes me feel a lot better, because at first I was envisioning heavier stuff. So,
We got.
what we might try and do is, are you gonna be out on Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay, maybe we'll go in the attic. I got an old picture that shows where the skylights were once upon a time. You can kind of see them in the attic, because it looks like they did a roof overbuild.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure anything we stage up there is going to be on a good section of the roof, so we don't get a surprise.
Absolutely.
We've had enough surprises.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming everything is fine, because guys have been up there walking and working on it.
Right.
So, take the weight of a couple, healthy average roofer is about 200 some pounds apiece of tools,
Yeah.
you know, it seems to be holding that kind of weight. But you start adding weight of other stuff, dead weight that stays in one spot, it doesn't move around like the roofer does.
Correct.
Just wanna practice a little caution so we can
Yeah.
have a desirable outcome.
Absolutely. We
And
should get it.
Makes sense to, now, I think this is the first time it's actually been explained to me why Kryling is wanting to wait on installing that large section of copper up there.
Yeah.
I've always been kind of wondering, okay, so why are we not doing that? So now that explanation is at least makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
don't want to be scratching up and damaging that copper. Because if we are putting, you know, they're gonna go up there, they're gonna weld it, not weld it, solder it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they start to be doing excess amount of walking on it or storing materials on it, that could potentially start to break up the soldered
Yeah.
joints. And we want that all to be pristine and weather tight.
Exactly. And I pushed on Kryling to try and come up with other solutions of how to protect it, and they pushed back, and they were like, it's a finished product, we really want it to look good. They were really concerned about just anything that could possibly happen until they were done with that section. So
And we actually appreciate their artisanship up there. I mean, they all seem to be dedicated to what they're doing.
yeah,
So we appreciate that part of it as long as it's structurally sound.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate it too and admire them for wanting to look out for that. I just, maybe one of the frustrations of myself, and I know for sure the board, is just getting information back from Kryling so we can understand what they're thinking.
Yep.
You know, this has been talked about now for over a month or so, about what's gonna happen with that section of the roof, or even the crane. The crane's been a discussion that's been going on even longer.
Yeah.
And, so it's, hopefully the communication part of that, those two subjects get resolved here shortly with that information coming from Kryling. You've been trying to ask too, so that,
The board wants to make an end to all of this week as far as the game plan.
Okay.
All right, so we need to know, if we need to hold a special meeting or something like that, Michael, please let us know, or Josh, so that we can get together and make sure everybody's on the same page, or even the building committee, depending on how we're gonna handle it.
Yeah, do you guys meet every 2 weeks?
The next one is the,
10th.
yeah, the 10th, because the 9th is the holiday.
Gotcha. Yeah, our, similar to the last change order, when Core is able to finally finalize all the price and we've gone over everything, we feel confident about it. It will also come with a schedule, and we'll make sure to add a kind of a loading plan for, how we're staging that material on the roof, and give you guys at least a week to look over that yourselves and ask any questions that you need.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Harrison, when
yes.
we're there on Wednesday, do you anticipate any of your subs or carpenters needing to ask me questions at all about pricing or repairs for the storm damage?
Off the top of my head, no, because we've got both of the costs. They've been going back and forth with our pre-construction team. So I think we're in good shape, but let me talk to Greg, because he's been evaluating the cost as they've come in late last week. And then, and he's looking at them right now, so I'll get a chance to talk to him when I get back in the office and see if there's any questions that either he has or they have, and hopefully if they do, we'll get them down there on Wednesday.
Yeah, because this Wednesday's visit is my monthly, come check out the progress and go through the payment application claim. So yeah, anything we can double up on, also for if the guys need something, storm clarification on storm repairs or other things. Certainly do that at the same time to save the county another trip.
Just, since he's coming out Wednesday, we talked about some of the scaffolding's coming down. Is it
Mhm.
just the extra, or are you taking down phase one? Because is he gonna need to get up on some of that before you take it down?
So far, it's just been the masonry. Kryling has been struggling with getting some of the sheet metal on phase one finalized. So they've been pushing their schedule out just a little bit. So I gotta talk to them to see where they're at with getting ready to bring down phase one, because that should be just about done.
I know some of it started coming down because there's some pieces over there this weekend.
Yeah.
But
When you say sheet metal, you mean copper?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Didn't remember that we paid.
no, I think,
No, no,
yeah,
no,
it's
yeah.
the thing we replaced all the sheet metal.
Yep, with copper,
Right.
copper finish.
Okay.
Thank you, Harrison.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Michael. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday. Anything else,
Thanks for the
Michael?
information.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. We'll talk to you later.
Okay,
Thank
goodbye.
you. Bye.
We're just gonna talk about general stuff. Andy, do you wanna stick around or you wanna take off?
No, I'm gonna take off, but I do wanna say that, I don't know if anybody's been down to the Diamond Brothers. Rowdy is, I would say 75% complete. He's got both doors, the single and the double doors. They look real nice. The wall looks real nice. The only thing he's got left to do is we've gotta get that, corner, the conduit run in from the ground and come up. And we'll have to figure that out. But he asked me, he goes, it may be a while before they get to that. Is it possible for him to get, he's 75% done, can he get paid for part of it?
Sure. Yeah, have
So
him submit. I
yeah.
think he's probably more than 75% done, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
just,
we give him, whatever we agree to, I pay him that, and then when he comes and finishes up, he'll still have to do that corner and then take that one door out that's down there, that's plywooded over, you know which one I'm talking about,
yeah,
in the corner, and then he'll be completely done, but, looks real nice, so yeah, probably need to figure out, give him, I don't know, 75, 85% or whatever, and then have him come back and finish that one, we get the electrical work done.
if you talk to him or send him a message, just ask him to submit a bill to Augie and then we'll take a look at it, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay?
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's okay with you, Augie?
Absolutely.
All right. All right, thank you.
All right.
You take
Thanks.
care.
All right, I
Be
appreciate
careful.
it.
See you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Anybody need to take a break?
Yep.
Okay, why don't you hit it?
Take my laces, I got
Your pitiful, your old foot.
Tell me about
Go do it.
He's trying to get
We're
up.
talking about it.
it. Can you help me?
He just can't get up.
Leg cut off in November.
Better yours than mine.
I still beat you one leg, one arm.
You couldn't beat my sister.
It's a tough crowd.
I'm gonna
Tomorrow
try
at
nice.
10 o'clock. Update.
I don't know. We'll have to ask him. We've also got 11 o'clock with the bond company to talk to.
How come you're always the same place I am?
Yeah. You following me?
There's food everywhere we go, that's what
It's
I'm
getting to be
thinking.
pretty much my routine.
We met you going to Terre Haute yesterday.
Yep. That's what I said.
Man, no shy, no shy. I always look at the license plate first.
Well,
By
if
the
some
time
of
I
us
look
would,
up, you're gone.
if some of us would put front license plates on, I'd wave.
Let's not talk about that. It messes up the front of my car. It doesn't look
Oh.
good.
You took your thing off, so I don't know.
I know.
I don't know you now.
got
At
tired.
least I got some warning, you know?
I got tired of looking at that red top on there. It'll have to go back on.
I don't know what he's talking about. I
You
got
want
no
to catch
trouble
him
just
first?
to take care of myself.
Hey, were you still wanting to talk to Delina today sometime? She
Yes.
said she's available from 10:30 to 3:30. You have a
Yes.
time you want to try for?
I'll tell you in a little bit.
Okay,
I don't have time.
Okay.
What about tomorrow?
Yes, that's what I was gonna ask you.
Do we have
We-
our Tuesday meeting?
I would assume so. They have not said otherwise.
We'll find out, would you?
Okay, just no problem. I can
All
find
right.
out. Yep.
Let us know. We'll be here a little bit longer. Okay, Danny?
I talked to Andrew last week. She does have a applicant that's interested in the job, so I haven't talked to her since then, but I think she's gonna hire somebody. And she said she called you too, I think.
Yep. We
Okay.
talked, budget. I sent her a message this morning to remind her to get the budget in.
Okay, and then, the lady from St. Mary's has been helping her son, especially on the, computer stuff, so I was out there last week and she's had 40 animals in the shelter, but I don't know where she got any adopted over the weekend or not, but she still has 5 of the huskies out there, so. But, other than that, everything's going all right.
Now, does that 40 include puppies?
Yes, includes
So
puppies.
there are some litters out there.
Right.
So,
I don't know how many adult dogs she has, but that includes puppies, yeah. She was just gonna pick up another female with about 8 puppies while I was out there, so. But they're busy. She still has some work to do on a pen, so she was gonna take care of that on her, so. Other than that, all right.
Ross, do you have anything?
No.
Phil? We need to have a closed session here for a little bit to get a couple of items, if that's all right. I'd rather let you know what's going on. It's contractual and labor. So, I would give you, the budget is almost done. I was hoping to have it. The big holdup has been, I'm not blaming it on Don, but getting everything squared away from the Paycom and getting everything up to date on the budget has been. But everybody, and I talked to our circuit clerk, Angie, and she needed some additional guidance, and we worked on that this morning. So in the next few days, we should have the budget out, probably no later than Monday, because Don needs to make a few changes and Don's out of town this week. And then I'm hoping to get the levy to Augie sometime this week, so then we can get a rough draft out to you on that also. We do need to work on trees on the courthouse lawn. Sometime we need to get together, have a committee meeting or whatever, the building committee, and go out there and figure out what we're gonna do and mark them.
Do we need to have that guy come and,
Maybe give us some guidance
Yeah.
on what probably would be a good idea. Cause he can, it's like the tree guy I use, he can go, well, you see that right there? That's rotten.
Mhm.
And that's, it shouldn't have been like that, somebody should have trimmed, and that's gonna come down in a storm. And they can do that kind, yes,
What's
sir.
this guy's name?
Tim Salisbury,
Yeah,
Coons.
Coons.
Yeah.
I know him well.
So anyway, he seems to be fairly knowledgeable. And we ought to take that, maybe arrange for something in the next week or two.
yeah,
I'm sure he'd rather do it in the wintertime when the leaves are off and everything else, but we ought to address that, so don't let us forget to, when Andy gets back, maybe we can get something set up. I don't look to the budget to grow or shrink much from last year. We were looking at a 6.3 to 6.4 budget last year, and that's probably about the range where it's gonna be this year. So, and you say, how is that possible? Well, some of our construction projects are gonna back down and we're not gonna be putting some of the stuff, or spending some of the money that we did last year or this current year. We've also started receiving and will receive additional funds on an annual basis to help support us and the public defender to the tune of somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, which will make it, well, we all know that when we gave that extra money to make it full-time, that is gonna be a godsend for us in the budget. So, those are things. The sheriff's committee is gonna have to sit down and go over the sheriff's budget here as soon as Andy gets back. We were gonna have a negotiating session today, but that's been canceled till next Monday. So, that's October 2nd. So, that's what's going on with that. And that will probably just be with the sheriff's deputies at this point and not involve the dispatchers or the jailers or corrections at this point. So, also, Don's come up with a report you're gonna start getting on a monthly basis that'll show you, what we've got out in investments. I think it's a good idea, just so you can see what we've got out there and how we're investing funds. Now, I'm not sure, Don's not here to answer, there are some, government funds that we have, but that's kind of on a periodic basis where we invest money where we have a little bit on shorter term. You can even, for example, you can even invest funds overnight, and that can change every night. And I don't think Don's doing that, but he may be doing it weekly and definitely monthly. So we have the funds working for us whenever we can. Okay? It also does not include, these funds don't include the drainage district funds, which are also invested. Some of the health department has funds that are invested also. So that's just our funds that you guys oversee on a monthly basis. Any questions about that? And like I said, I try to get the budget to you just as quickly as I can. So, I finally got sort of a rough draft, which is not correct at all, this morning as Don was leaving town. So we'll do the best we can here in the next few days.
I
Yes,
talked with Core, and we'll have it in the morning at 10 o'clock. If you guys can make it, so.
so we're gonna have to, that's gonna have to not, what do they usually last, a half an hour?
Whatever you, however long.
Well, cause we've got the 11 o'clock meeting right here.
Yeah.
So, all right? So anybody who can make it tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, we're gonna meet here. Okay?
I mean, if you want, I can see if I can make it earlier, but I think an
Yeah.
hour is probably more than enough time if you just want to do an hour.
Well,
Up to you.
especially since he did today, are we gonna,
Yeah, that, we can make it, yeah, pretty much make it just the jail probably at this point, so you
Yeah.
probably wouldn't need an hour, I wouldn't think.
right, well, if you can make it a little, well, it depends on what Michael can do.
Okay.
All right?
I would think an hour was more than
Yeah.
enough.
It's
We'll just
usually,
leave it.
we usually don't take an hour anyways,
Right.
so.
It seemed like we just did a half an hour, 45 minutes max,
Right.
just so we can get connected and segue into the next meeting.
And like I said, it should pretty much just be the jail, I think, because we've covered,
Yeah.
just covered the courthouse today, so, okay,
Thank you, sir.
no problem.
Is there anything else for the open session? To entertain a motion for personnel and contracts. Russ moves, Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. I'm gonna, ready? Anything else to come before the meeting today? Hearing nothing, motion to adjourn. Russ moves. Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed,
You took
nay.
his place.
We're adjourned.
Well, and